What is up, everybody, and welcome back to part 3 of 4 for the DISC explanation, acronym explanation series. So, if you haven't watched the episode on the dominant behavioral style or the influencer behavioral style, please go check those out. This is 3 of 4. We're trying to keep these short and to the point to give just a surface level explanation of what these are. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just want to dive deeper into any of these letters and learn maybe what you are or your spouse or anyone else is, please feel free to reach out to us. We've got descriptions or links in the description below, and we can get you set up with the DISC assessment test, and it will answer so many questions. We will also have events coming up this year that you will be able to attend, and we can go into this even further. There's just so much going on in these 4 letters, and we're on the 3rd one, which is S. Tony or Amy, what does the S stand for in DISC?
The S stands for steady. Okay? And if some of you are more familiar with the color wheel, sometimes we do colors instead of DISC. Sometimes people don't like the names, that we associate. Well, we didn't create that, the names. But we call this the green. So we've done red for dominant, we've done I for influential, which is yellow, and now we're to the green, which is steady.
So what are some of the strengths of the steady behavioral style?
Well, I will start off to say that we've shared this in the first 2 sessions of what percentage of the population is
that takes the test.
That takes the assessment. That takes the test, and 68% of the people who take this assessment are S's. Greens.
So interesting.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that before I answered your question.
That's a hefty majority. That's a lot.
And it's not a catch-all. It's not like whoever doesn't fit somewhere else, they follow them and lump them into it.
I think that's a great explanation and clarification.
Yeah, because when you get the assessment, which it's on binder or digital, whatever format you get it in, no 2 S's reports are the same. It's not like you go to an S and it goes, well, Tony or Amy or Walker or Ashland are this and this and this and this and this. Nope, it doesn't do that. It identifies and takes a blend of your whole behavior portfolio, blends that into a customized report. So that's a very scientific, result is what I'm saying. So, to go to your question about what are the strengths though, they are very steady, obviously, for the term. This is the one term that nobody ever debates. They're like, okay, it's cool to be an S, steady. I can be a steady. But people typically don't like to be a dominant, a red. Some people like influencer. I'm not an influencer. I don't want to be an influencer, But the S, they're very steady. They're concrete, driven, dependable. They're ready at any time, and they're faithful.
And no drama.
Yeah, no drama.
Okay.
They just don't do drama.
Yeah.
They're calm.
S desires consistency. Okay, so as we talk about this, remember we're doing this under the umbrella of Marriage Matters and how this impacts families, not just husband and wife, but if you have children, how the dynamics of knowing what our behaviors are, how those work with us, but then also if we've got 2 children, what their styles are, because if we try to mainstream that one way of communication, guess what? There's going to be obstacles and conflict.
Yeah.
And we give examples of that in our workshops, but we don't have time for that now. But how you communicate with each other is going to be different, plus our children.
Right.
And so, but they are strong leaders because they are rock solid, faithful, and dedicated. And so when a relationship as marriage comes up, they're very dependable. Okay? But when those things that they don't want drama, they're very committed to the relationship. They will walk over coals, hot coals, so to speak, to maintain the relationship despite any other behavior style, actions and behaviors. So they could be, they're just not going to give up.
Okay.
They're gonna fight till the bitter end, even though it may be the most painful thing they've ever
Well, and they're not like up and down like a roller coaster. They're pretty even keel
Mm-hmm.
in their decision making and their listening and in their communication style. Like they're not going to be high and lows. There's not a lot of high and lows. They're pretty calm and even,
Pretty steady.
steady.
done. You're a genius,
Oh,
Walter.
thank you, thank you.
Well, you know,
So-
I'll give you an example real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry. So an S is going to be, if you go to their room, their circle, their desk, wherever they call their space, they're the ones that's going to have a picture, some personalization to their desk because they're so relationship driven. They have a close knit group of friends. They're not going to have 100, and not everybody's their friend. They can be their friend,
Mm-hmm.
but they're close knit friends. They're going to have a picture of their friend, their family. They're going to have in their space. They're going to make it very important. So when you look at their desk, you go, "Oh, I feel at home." Whereas D's like, I don't see the need for that. Why have a picture of our family on there? You know, what? I'm not saying they're bad. That's a bad style. I'm just saying that's typical. An I, they haven't taken the time to put a picture in their space.
They'll have the frame.
Yeah, they're too busy talking to the people that we would have, you know, some people would have on their desk. So, but they're patient in the process, and they're consistent. They really don't have a lot of pace up and down. They're just steady.
Mm. I feel like this is also the only letter where a very good descriptor of it is the word itself, because I'm trying to think of other words besides steady. Like when you say not many, like roller coaster is a great way to put it. Like not super highs and super lows, just, well, that word's going to be steady. Or they're not going to be super in your face about this, and they're not always going to be super passive. Most of the time they're going to be, well, steady. So I think that's funny that it's a really good descriptor, and I bet that's why so many people are like, hey, that ain't half bad. If someone said I was steady, I'll take that over just about any. There's a lot worse things people could be saying.
Yeah, steady sounds better than dominant. doesn't
Sounds
it?
way better. So, let's try and find some of these lows, and what can you tell me are some of the challenges of this behavioral style?
Well, they will appear quiet. And so it's not that they're indifferent or they're ignoring you as they're quiet, they're thinking. And they don't want to say the wrong thing, and they need time to weigh all of the facts. So they want to have the time to think, well, if I say this, this might happen, but if I say this, this could happen. So whereas the other styles that we've talked about are kind of want immediate feedback, these are more introverts. And so they're going to be thinking inwardly before they say anything outwardly. And sometimes that could be considered maybe I'm standoffish or I'm elusive or I'm not engaged. They just need time to process. And then they, like a lot of planning, they're not going to be really spontaneous. They need plans. They like things to be the status quo. Change is hard for greens because they would want you to convince them of why you would need to change it because of why it's not working. They need
Yeah.
a thorough explanation.
Very
of
logical.
that. Logical. Yes.
Absolutely. And you know, Amy did a great job explaining that. One thing that I would say to add on to that, if you haven't figured out, I'll add on something on everything. So sorry about that.
You're gonna give away
I'm
your
trying to do
style.
better. I'm trying to adapt. But you know, when we tie these together, because we're doing these in sessions, but they start to layer up on you, and you start to say, okay, there's a D, there's an I, there's an S, and now you're sitting there going, I wonder what the next one is. Okay, but if a D, who we said can dream big, be spontaneous, goes to an S and requires that of their spouse or their kid, a quick response, An S can tend to do whatever, say whatever to get you out of their space and get you out of their hair for the moment. Because you haven't given them time to plan and prepare and give you a logical
Process.
answer.
They want a process.
Yeah.
And that's not, here's what's interesting about this whole concept. That is completely opposite of what a D behavior is wanting out of the S when they go to the S quickly and say, tell me what you think, Walker.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's not what we want you to tell us, but guess what? They don't, what? Oh, sorry, did your elbow move or something?
Yeah, sorry.
But I'm just kidding. But when you do that, you make them feel very uncomfortable because really what they would say, but they're not outgoing because they're more introverted.
Mhm.
What they're really verbally or non-verbally saying is that, I love your idea. That sounds great. Let's do it. And all the time in the back of their mind going, leave the room
Mhm.
because and then 2 days later, you know, that person comes back and says, well, they didn't like the idea. They may have, they just didn't want to decide right then.
Yeah. Just needed, I don't know, a second to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time
There-
to process.
Yeah, you do find so many of these people in the workplace is where it's where you run into the most amount of people. And I have a feeling that anyone who is going to watch all 4 of these going back into work outside of marriage, where again it's really crucial to know your behavioral styles in marriage, but it's going to be secondhand at work now going forward if you're watching all these, and you're going to be seeing all of these things play out, and you'll be able to say, that's a D right there. So before he comes and asks me something, I now need to adapt to how to answer him where they're not going to be completely turned off from this conversation or think I'm ignoring them or don't like them. Or if an I walks up and like, okay, I really need you to get to the point. You're really going to start seeing these people throughout your daily life now. And I think that is one of the most fun parts about DISC and finding out who you are, is you will then be able to see who other people are as well.
Yeah, you see them through a different lens.
Yeah.
For sure. And sometimes you're like, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
You know, and it is.
It'll
it's,
help with communication too.
but I will tell you that 68% of the people who take the assessment are greens. They're the rock solid foundations to any relationship or function
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're so steady Eddie that
They hold everything
they
together.
hold everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you'd even mentioned, I can't remember if it was this episode or the previous one, where many people have 1 or 2, sometimes 2 to 3 of the letters or the colors, and they kind of play on each other. And so even if someone isn't a full S or a green, they could bring some of those qualities to the relationship. And so even if they aren't full on that behavioral style, could some of those behaviors come out and be a benefit?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some of those tendencies would mirror their primary or their natural.
Yeah.
So talking about communicating specifically, what advice would you give someone when they are communicating with someone with the steady behavioral style?
I would be sincere. They want you to be sincere. They want you to be honest. Don't make false promises. If you say you're going to do it with the green, you better follow through, because they are sincere and they are steady, and so they're not going to tell you that they will be able to do something that they don't follow through on. So their expectation is that you better do that as well,
Right.
because that's just what they do. So they expect everybody else to do that. Don't be pushy or demanding. Give them time. So if you go in with a bright idea, give them time and say, hey, I'm going to check back, or you come find me when you're ready. Think about it. If you can say, I'm going to give you some time to think about it, and then when they do talk, do not interrupt. Let them finish their complete thoughts, because the more that you...
What'd you say?
Yeah.
Just kidding. I was
Don't
interrupting
do
you to
that
demonstrate.
with an S.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And they want to be able to trust you.
Mm.
So if you've ever done anything to betray their trust, you're really going to have to ask for forgiveness, and you're going to have to earn that trust back.
Mm.
Because once you lose that trust and you get out of their inner circle, it's really hard to get back in.
Yeah. So, wrapping this up with the letter S, how does all of this apply for an S specifically in marriage?
You know, I think S's probably need to hear this perception about themselves and to know that they can be perceived as being the quiet person. Maybe even being sometimes maybe the person that perceived as running solo.
Or disengaged.
Because they're so confident in their ability. They're not overconfident. They're not arrogant. They're just so confident in the decisions.
Secure.
Yes, yes. And just know that some people out there that other behavior styles don't always see things the way that one behavior sees themselves. And then also know if you're married to an S, you need to respect them with their closeness, their more reserved, introverted deals.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to change them to become what you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Let them be an S and love them and demonstrate that that's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that would be where it applies to marriage. If I had to sum it up, not trying to be all warm and fuzzy, but that's
No,
seriously.
but it sounds like to show appreciation for their stability and what that brings to the household. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So that is going to wrap up the steady behavioral style. And like I said at the beginning, even the 15 minutes we've been talking about this is very shallow, surface level, blanket statements, because an S in one person doesn't look the same as an S in someone else, because we all behave differently. And when there's only 4 letters, there's a lot of differentiating between dominance, influencers, and people who are steady. Because that word has a range too when it comes to different people. So if you have liked what you've heard and listened to and watched, and you want to know more about any of the letters so far, but being an S, we will have the link to our website, to our Facebook, to reach out to us. And in the comment section below, you can put who on the panel you think is an S, and we may let you know if you're right. We probably won't, but you can give it a try and we'll have a laugh at it in the comments. So we have got one more letter to go through, and just thank you so much for watching and listening. Please leave a like and subscribe and comment down below. We appreciate your time, and we will see you in the next one.